The moment my fiancée asked for a break so she could see if she still had feelings for her ex, I realized I was not being loved. I was being kept on a shelf. She was not asking me to understand her confusion. She was asking me to wait patiently while she tested another man and decided whether I was still useful. My name is Ethan Walker. I was 28, living outside Nashville, Tennessee, and until that night I believed I was about to marry Madison Reed, the woman everyone thought was perfect for me. We had been together for 4 years, engaged for 8 months, and living in a small white house that I bought before I ever met her. It had a porch swing, a narrow driveway, hydrangeas by the mailbox, and a kitchen she had painted sage green because she said every Southern home needed a soft color and good lighting. Madison and I met at a 4th of July cookout. It was one of those warm American summer nights with burgers on the grill, country music playing too loudly, kids running through the yard, and fireworks waiting on the porch. She was funny, confident, and easy to talk to. By the end of the night, we were sitting on the tailgate of a pickup truck talking about work, family, bad dates, and the kind of future we both wanted. Nothing about it felt forced. A year later, she moved into my house. Technically, it was mine. The mortgage was in my name, the down payment came from my savings, and every repair bill came out of my account. But I never corrected her when she called it our home. I liked seeing her coffee mug beside mine. I liked her design laptop open on the dining table. I liked the sound of her laughing in the next room. I thought those ordinary little things meant we were building a life together. Last fall, I proposed at home. I ordered chicken parmesan from her favorite Italian restaurant, lit candles, and hid the ring in the cabinet with the wine glasses. Madison cried before I even finished asking. She said yes 3 times, hugged me, and spent the rest of the night calling her mother, her sister, and half her friends. For weeks, she acted thrilled. She wanted an October wedding at a lakeside venue outside Nashville with string lights, white roses, an acoustic guitarist, and a small guest list. She sent me suit ideas, invitation samples, and photos of centerpieces. Then the excitement slowly disappeared. She stopped answering emails from the venue. She delayed picking bridesmaids. She avoided cake tastings, music choices, and guest list details. Whenever I asked, she smiled and said there was still time. I told myself she was stressed. Weddings in the US can become expensive, emotional, and exhausting, especially when families start giving opinions, so I ignored the feeling in my stomach. But Madison did not only lose interest in the wedding, she started pulling away from me. Her phone stayed face down on the coffee table. She smiled at messages and locked the screen when I got close. She spent more nights in her studio with the door half closed. Sometimes she said she had client calls, but I heard no talking. Other times she said she needed to visit her mother or catch up on work. None of it sounded suspicious alone, but together it felt like a pattern. The first real warning came at our friend Caleb's game night. Someone pulled a card asking if you could relive one past relationship, which one would it be? People laughed and gave silly answers. Madison answered almost instantly. Probably Tyler. The room went quiet. Tyler was her college ex, the man who cheated on her and left her heartbroken. She laughed awkwardly and said it was just a meaningful chapter of her life, but I knew what I heard. She had not said his name like a joke. She had said it like a confession. On the drive home, I asked her why she chose Tyler. She stared out at the dark road and said it was just a stupid game. When I pushed a little, she sighed and said sometimes people wonder how things might have been if the timing had been different. That answer stayed with me. A week later, I came home early from work, hoping we could order barbecue and have one normal Friday night. Madison was on the couch with her laptop open, but she was not working. She looked nervous when I walked in. Then she closed the laptop and said, "We need to talk." She looked down at the engagement ring on her finger and told me she had been thinking about us and about Tyler. She said she needed a break before the wedding so she could figure out whether there was still something between them. She said she loved me, but she needed clarity. If it turned out to be nothing, she said, then she would know for sure that I was the one. That was when I understood the truth. Madison was not afraid of losing me. She was counting on me to wait. For a few seconds after Madison finished speaking, I could only hear the refrigerator humming in the kitchen and the clock ticking above the hallway table. It was strange how ordinary the house still looked. The throw blanket was folded over the couch. Her half-empty coffee mug sat on the side table. A basket of wedding magazines rested under the window, open to a page of white dresses and smiling couples. Everything in that room looked like we were planning a future, except the woman sitting across from me was calmly asking to pause our engagement so she could find out if her college ex still made her heart race. I asked her to repeat herself, not because I had not heard her, but because some part of me wanted her to hear how ridiculous it sounded out loud. Madison swallowed and said she was confused. Tyler had reached out a few months earlier to apologize for the way things ended in college. At first, according to her, it was just a polite conversation. Then it became messages here and there. Then they started talking about old memories, unfinished feelings, and how different things might be now that they were older. She kept using soft words, careful words, words that made betrayal sound like self-discovery. She said she owed it to herself to know the truth before walking down the aisle. I looked at the ring on her hand and asked, "And what exactly am I supposed to do while you figure that out?" Madison's face tightened like she had expected sadness from me but not logic. She said we both needed space. She said I could think about us too. She said maybe a short break would make us stronger. The way she said it made me realize she had rehearsed this. Maybe in the shower. Maybe in her car. Maybe during one of those late nights in her studio when she claimed she was working. No amount of pretty language could hide what she wanted. She wanted me to stay loyal while she stepped outside the relationship. I asked if she had already seen him. She hesitated half a second too long. Then she said they had gotten coffee once just to catch up. Once became twice after I kept staring at her. Then she admitted they had also met for lunch when she told me she was visiting her mother. She insisted nothing physical had happened, but the truth was already ugly enough. She had been lying. She had been taking pieces of our future and quietly handing them to a man who had already proven he could not be trusted. The anger came slowly at first, then all at once. I stood up and walked to the kitchen because I did not trust myself to sit still. I gripped the edge of the counter and stared at the sink full of 2 plates from breakfast, 2 forks, 2 coffee spoons. Even our dirty dishes looked like a couple. Behind me, Madison kept talking. She said she did not want to hurt me. She said she loved me. She said Tyler had made mistakes when they were young, but people changed. She said marriage was forever, and she could not make that promise with questions in her heart. Every sentence made it worse. She was not confessing because guilt had broken her. She was confessing because she wanted my cooperation. I turned around and asked, "So what happens if you go back to him and it doesn't work?" Madison looked relieved, like we had finally reached the part of the conversation she wanted. She said then we could talk. We could rebuild. We could go to counseling if I needed that. If I needed that. Not if she needed to earn back trust. Not if she needed to repair the damage. In her mind, my pain was going to be the inconvenience we handled after her experiment failed. That was when I truly understood the position she had assigned me. I was not her partner. I was her safety net. I asked her if she expected me to keep the wedding date. She said we did not have to cancel anything yet. We could just slow down. Deposits had already been paid and there was no reason to make a dramatic announcement. That almost made me laugh. She wanted to explore her ex, but she did not want the embarrassment of people knowing. She wanted the comfort of my house, the protection of my name, the appearance of an engagement, and the freedom of being single whenever it benefited her. It was the most selfish thing anyone had ever said to me, and she said it with tears in her eyes like she was the victim. I did not shout. I think that scared her more than shouting would have. I simply sat back down and looked at her for a long moment. She kept wiping her cheeks, waiting for me to plead, waiting for me to promise that I would fight for her, waiting for me to perform the pain she had already decided I should feel. Instead, I nodded once and said, "Take your break." Her expression changed immediately. Confusion crossed her face first, then suspicion. She asked what that meant. I told her it meant exactly what she asked for. If she needed space, she could have space. If she needed Tyler, she could go see Tyler. If she needed clarity, I hoped she found it quickly. Madison's voice got small. She said this did not mean we were over. She said she was not choosing him over me. She said she just needed time before making the biggest decision of her life. I told her she had already made a decision. She had chosen to put me in second place and call it honesty. A few minutes later, she went to the bedroom and packed a weekend bag. I stayed in the living room listening to drawers open and close. At the door, she paused like she expected me to stop her. I did not. When the door closed behind her, the house went silent. My hands were shaking, but my mind was clear. Madison thought I was going to wait exactly where she left me. But if she wanted a break, she was going to get one. She just had no idea how permanent it would be. For the first few minutes after Madison left, I stayed on the couch and stared at the front door. Her perfume was still in the hallway. Her sweater was still hanging over a dining chair. Her coffee mug was still beside the sink, like she had only stepped out for groceries and would come back asking what we should make for dinner. But that was the lie the house was trying to tell me. The truth was much uglier. Madison had walked out wearing my ring because she believed I would stay exactly where she left me. She thought love meant I would wait quietly while she tested her feelings for Tyler. She thought I was too attached, too invested, and too afraid of losing her to move without her permission. By the time the clock passed midnight, I already knew she had made the wrong bet. I called my best friend Noah. He had known me since college, and he was the kind of friend who would rather hurt your feelings with the truth than comfort you with nonsense. He came over with pizza, 2 bottles of Coke, and a look on his face that said he was ready to hate Madison before I even finished explaining. I told him everything. The game night, Tyler's name, the secret coffee meetings, the lunch she had lied about, and the break she wanted before the wedding. Noah listened quietly, then said, "So she wants to try out her ex while keeping you as the backup husband." Hearing it said that plainly made something click in my head. Madison was not confused. She was comfortable. She had simply assumed I would accept the role she had created for me. That night, I decided I would not chase her. I would not send long emotional texts. I would not call her mother, beg her friends, or compete with Tyler. If Madison wanted space, I would give her space. Real space. Permanent space. The next morning I woke up early, made coffee, opened my laptop, and looked at my life like a problem that needed solving. The house was in my name. The mortgage was in my name. The utilities were in my name. Most of the wedding deposits had come from my account. For years I had acted like everything belonged to both of us, because I thought we were becoming family. Now I had to remember what was actually true. My first call was to a realtor named Diane, a sharp woman in her 50s who had helped a coworker sell his house the year before. I told her I was thinking about listing quickly. She came over that afternoon, walked through the rooms, checked the porch, the kitchen, the yard, and said the market in our neighborhood was strong. A clean house near good schools close enough to Nashville for commuters would move fast if priced correctly. That should have scared me. Instead, it made me breathe easier. This house had once felt like our future. Now it felt like the waiting room Madison expected me to sit in while she decided whether I was still good enough. I did not want to wait in it anymore. After Diane left, I started packing Madison's belongings. I did not throw anything. I did not break anything. I folded her clothes, wrapped her framed prints, boxed her makeup candles, designed books, shoes, and every decorative pillow she had insisted made the living room look warmer. At first it hurt. Every object reminded me of some ordinary moment. I had trusted her coffee in the morning, her laptop at the table, her laughing from the kitchen, her planning our wedding with a pen between her teeth. But the more I packed, the calmer I became. A person could fill your house with memories and still empty your future behind your back. By Sunday night, the guest room was full of boxes with her name written on them. I sent her one message. I told her I had packed the things she left behind and would have them delivered to her mother's house. She replied almost immediately, "Why are you acting like this is final?" I looked at the message for a long moment, then answered, "Because you asked for a break to explore another man. I am respecting your choice." She called twice. I did not answer. Then she texted again, saying I was being unfair and that she only needed time. I put the phone face down and kept sealing boxes. By Monday, friends started texting me. Madison must have told them we were taking space because that was the phrase everyone used. It sounded calm and mutual, like two mature adults pausing to think. It did not sound like a fiancée lying about meetings with her ex while keeping a wedding date warm in case her experiment failed. I decided I would not protect her version. I also refused to create drama. When people asked, I gave them one sentence. Madison wanted a break from our engagement so she could see if she still had feelings for Tyler, and I decided I deserved better than being someone's backup plan. No insults, no begging, just the truth. The reaction was immediate. Some people went silent. Others asked if I was serious. A few apologized because they had believed Madison's softer version. When Madison realized the story was changing, her texts became angry. She said I was embarrassing her. She said private matters should stay private. I told her I was not embarrassing her. I was simply repeating what she had chosen. If the truth made her look bad, that was not my fault. By the end of the week, her boxes were at her mother's house, the realtor had taken photos, and the listing paperwork was ready. I also applied for a transfer to my company's San Francisco office, something I had postponed for years because Madison never wanted to leave Tennessee. Funny how quickly life opens up when the wrong person removes herself from the center of it. Madison thought she had left me waiting in our little white house. She had no idea I was already building the exit. The house listing went live on Friday morning, and by Friday afternoon my phone was full of messages from Diane saying people wanted showings. I should have felt strange watching strangers walk through rooms where Madison and I had once planned our future, but I did not. I felt strangely calm. The porch swing, the kitchen, she painted the little studio where she used to work late at night. All of it had stopped feeling like home the moment she decided I was something she could put on hold. By Sunday, Diane told me we had multiple serious buyers. By Monday evening, one offer came in above asking price. I accepted it before I had time to become sentimental. Madison found out through someone else, which made her furious. She called me 3 times, then sent a message asking if I had lost my mind. I replied that selling my own house was not a mental health crisis. It was a decision. She wrote back that I was destroying everything we built. That sentence almost made me laugh. She had asked for a break to explore Tyler, but in her mind, I was the one destroying things because I refused to sit quietly inside the wreckage. I told her the house had never been legal proof of our relationship. It was my property and I was moving forward. She responded with a paragraph about memories, commitment, and how I was acting cold. I did not answer. Around that same time, Madison's version of the story began falling apart. At first, she had told people we were taking space to grow individually. It sounded mature, modern, and harmless. She posted vague quotes online about listening to your heart and choosing your truth. But the problem with trying to look deep on social media is that real life eventually catches up. Someone saw Tyler post a photo of the 2 of them at a restaurant downtown. Not just any restaurant either. It was the Italian place where I had bought dinner the night I proposed to Madison. He had his arm around her chair and she was smiling in a way that looked forced, like she knew the picture was a mistake before it was even posted. The photo was deleted within an hour, but not before people saw it. Screenshots moved faster than Madison could control. Friends who had believed her taking space story started asking questions. One of her own bridesmaids texted me and said she felt sick. Another friend told me Madison had been acting like I was overreacting, but now nobody knew what to believe. I told each person the same thing I had said from the beginning. Madison wanted time away from our engagement to see if she still had feelings for Tyler. I decided I would not be a backup plan. That was all. The truth did not need decoration. Then Tyler did what people like Tyler usually do. He disappointed her. From what I heard through mutual friends, their romantic reunion was not the emotional fairy tale Madison had imagined. He was charming for about 5 minutes, then unreliable, distracted, and still addicted to attention from other women. He canceled plans. He flirted openly. He talked about freedom more than commitment. Madison had spent months wondering if he was unfinished business, only to learn that some doors stay closed for a reason. The saddest part was that everyone else could have told her that. I probably would have told her that too if she had come to me honestly before lying. One afternoon, Madison showed up outside my office building. I saw her through the glass doors before she saw me. She looked different. Not physically exactly, but smaller somehow. Less certain. She had dark circles under her eyes and her hair was pulled back, like she had not had the energy to make herself look put together. I stepped outside because I did not want a scene in front of coworkers. She started crying almost immediately. She said she had made a terrible mistake. She said Tyler was not who she remembered. She said she had been scared of marriage, scared of choosing wrong, scared of waking up 10 years later wondering if she had settled. I listened quietly. There was a time when seeing Madison cry would have broken me. That day it only made me tired. She reached for my hand and I stepped back. She said she still loved me. She said we could go to counseling. She said she would cut Tyler off completely and prove herself. I asked her why she needed Tyler to disappoint her before I became valuable again. She opened her mouth, but no answer came. That silence told me everything. She did not come back because she suddenly understood loyalty. She came back because her other option failed. I told her the engagement was over. She cried harder and said I was punishing her for being honest. I told her honesty would have been admitting months ago that Tyler had reached out, that she was confused, and that she needed help dealing with it. What she did was lie, hide, plan, and ask me to stay available while she explored another man. That was not honesty. That was selfishness wearing a pretty dress. She said she never meant to lose me. I told her that was exactly the problem. She thought losing me was impossible. By the end of the week, the house was under contract. The San Francisco office had offered me the transfer, and Madison's professional world had started feeling the consequences of her choices. Her freelance business depended on trust referrals and long-term clients. When people heard how she handled her own engagement, some quietly stepped away. I did not ruin her reputation. I did not have to. She had built it on being reliable, thoughtful, and loyal. Then she showed people another version of herself. For the first time in weeks, I slept through them to the night. Madison had Tyler, then lost the fantasy. I had lost the fantasy too, but I was gaining something better: my freedom. The closing on the house happened on a bright Tuesday morning. I remember signing the papers, handing over the keys, and feeling less sadness than I expected. For months, I had believed that house was the foundation of my future with Madison. But by the time I walked out of the title office, it felt like something else entirely. It felt like evidence that I had survived a version of myself who would have waited too long, forgiven too much, and called it love. The buyers were a young couple with a baby on the way. They seemed excited about the porch, the kitchen, and the hydrangeas by the mailbox. I was glad someone else would fill those rooms with a future that did not involve being treated like a backup plan. Madison did not believe I had actually sold the house until she drove by and saw another family moving boxes through the front door. She called me that evening, but I let it go to voicemail. Then she texted that she could not believe I had erased 4 years so easily. That message stayed on my screen for a while, not because it hurt, but because it showed how differently we understood what had happened. I had not erased 4 years. I had finally stopped letting 4 years become an excuse to accept disrespect. Memories are powerful, but they are not a contract that forces you to stay where someone has humiliated you. A few days later, I received a message from Tyler, of all people. At first, I almost deleted it. Curiosity won. He wrote a long apology saying he never meant to cause problems and that Madison had reached out first months before she asked me for a break. According to him, she had been messaging him slowly, carefully, almost testing the water before making her move. He said he thought she was unhappy and he assumed our engagement was already falling apart. Then, near the end of the message, he admitted he ended things with Madison because he realized something. If she could do that to the man she was engaged to, she could do it to anyone. I did not know whether to laugh or feel disgusted. Even Tyler, the man she had risked everything for, understood what she still refused to face. By then, Madison's life was not collapsing completely, but the fantasy she had built certainly was. Some friends stopped inviting her to gatherings. A few clients quietly moved their design projects elsewhere. Her social media changed every few days. First came the inspirational posts about growth, then the sad quotes about losing someone who loved you, then the angry posts about people who punish you for being human. I never responded. I had learned that silence can be more final than any argument. She wanted a reaction because a reaction would mean she still had access to me. I gave her nothing. My transfer to San Francisco was approved the same week the house sale closed. I packed what I wanted to keep, donated what I did not need, and shipped the rest ahead. Noah helped me load the final boxes, and before I left, we stood in the empty living room for a minute. The place echoed. No couch, no wedding magazines, no decorative pillows, no smell of Madison's candles. Just bare walls and sunlight through the windows. Noah looked around and said, "You know, this place already feels less haunted." He was right. The memories were still there, but they no longer owned me. San Francisco felt like a different planet at first. The air was cooler, the streets were busier, and my new apartment was smaller than the house in Tennessee. But when I opened the window and saw the city lights, I felt something I had not felt in months. Possibility. My new team was sharp, welcoming, and focused on building things instead of feeding drama. I started going to a climbing gym after work. I tried restaurants I could barely pronounce. I adopted a rescue dog named Milo from a local shelter, mostly because his sad eyes made it impossible to leave him behind. Every small choice reminded me that my life had not ended when Madison walked out. It had simply stopped revolving around her. Her final email came 3 weeks after I moved. She asked for old photos from our shared cloud account. She said those memories meant something, and that I could not just delete the life we had together. I read the email twice. Then I wrote back one short response. I told her the years did mean something. They taught me what I would never accept again. They taught me that love without respect is just attachment. They taught me that someone who truly wants you does not need to test someone else before choosing you. I wished her well, and after that I blocked her. Some people may think I was too cold. Maybe they believe everyone deserves a second chance. I believe second chances are for people who make mistakes, take responsibility, and understand the damage they caused. Madison did not make one mistake. She made a series of choices. She answered Tyler's messages. She hid them. She met him. She lied about where she was. She asked me to wait while she explored him. Then she came back only after he disappointed her. That was not confusion. That was calculation. The hardest lesson I learned was also the one that saved me. When someone treats you like an option, you do not prove your worth by waiting. You prove it by walking away. Madison wanted a break, and I gave her one. I broke from the house, the wedding, the version of myself who would have begged, and the future she thought she could return to whenever she was ready. Now, when I look back, I do not feel like I lost the love of my life. I feel like I escaped a marriage that would have taught me the same lesson much later with far more to lose. Sometimes the best ending is not revenge. Sometimes the best ending is packing your bags, closing the door, and building a life where nobody gets to call you their backup plan again.